It was 1897, and the Klondike fever had us all. Thousands of us, including my brother Caleb, headed into the frozen unknown. We thought we were chasing gold, but the real test was the brutal, endless winter. We were 6 men, bound by ambition and a shared, desperate need. Silas Thorne was our leader, a man who seemed to have all the answers. He'd read us sermons, his voice echoing in the silence, and we trusted him with everything. Then the food started disappearing, and the unease set in. Old man Jed was the first to notice the tracks. They weren't from any wolf or bear I'd ever seen. Silas told us stories of the Wendigo, a spirit of eternal hunger. He said it preyed on the lost and the isolated. Then one morning, Jed just vanished without a trace. The blizzard trapped us for 3 days, and we were starving. When the storm finally broke, the silence was deafening. And that's when I realized my brother, Caleb, was gone. I started watching Silas, and I didn't like what I saw. He always seemed to have more energy than the rest of us. Then I saw it. Caleb's silver compass hidden in his pack. There was no beast, only Silas. He'd been killing us all along to stay alive. I confronted him that night, holding the compass as my proof. He didn't even deny it. He just called it necessary. We fought in the snow, a desperate dance for survival. Finally struck him down, and the monster was silenced. I left him there in the snow, just like he left the others. I took his axe and started walking toward the door. I was carrying a truth that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I made it back, but I wasn't the same man who left. I never told anyone what really happened out there. The real monster wasn't a legend. It was the man who shared our fire. We kept moving, but the silence felt heavier now. Silas was always leading, always pushing us forward. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Silas brought back meat, but it didn't look like rabbit. We were so hungry, we didn't ask questions. I just couldn't bring myself to take a bite. I started following him whenever he went out. He wasn't hunting, he was just walking in circles. He was hiding something, and I was gonna find it. Lars and Sven were falling apart, just like the rest of us. One morning, Sven was just gone. Silas told us the beast had taken him, but I didn't believe it anymore. It was just the 3 of us now. Finn was so scared he couldn't even speak. He followed Silas everywhere, like he was his only hope. We had to leave everything behind to cross the ice. I saw my chance and grabbed his pack. My fingers closed around something cold and metallic. It was Caleb's compass. I knew that carving anywhere. There was no beast, just him. I waited for him to make his move. Finn was asleep, and Silas was on watch. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he'd hear it. He started moving toward Finn. I couldn't let him do it again. I stood up and called his name. He didn't even try to lie. He said he did what he had to do to survive. He was proud of it, like it was some kind of achievement. He lunged for the axe, but I was ready. I ducked just in time as the blade whistled past my head. I scrambled up and grabbed a heavy branch. It was a brutal, silent dance of survival in the snow. The wood splintered under his heavy blows. I was faster, fueled by the need for justice. He lunged again, but I saw it coming. I slammed the branch into his ribs, and he stumbled back. I swung the branch in a wide arc. It caught him right in the head, and he dropped the axe. He stood there for a second, then collapsed into the snow. I stood over him, panting, my hands still shaking. Finn was still huddled there, totally oblivious. Maybe it was better he never knew the truth. I left him there for the wilderness to claim. I grabbed his axe and my pack and just started walking. I walked toward the dawn, carrying the truth in my heart.
The journey out was just a blur of pure survival. I made it back, but I was just a shadow of myself. I never told anyone because they wouldn't believe the truth. I never told anyone the truth.
People prefer their monsters to be mythical, not human.
My story is just another cautionary tale of madness. But I knew I carried the truth like a brand. The memories of my brother and the others live with me still. The Klondike gave me no gold. It etched a terrifying truth into my soul.
The deepest darkness isn't found in mythical beasts.
It's found in the depths of the human heart,
Twisted by fear, hunger, and the wilderness.
We thought we were masters of our fate. The cold wasn't the real killer. It was the humanity lost and the trust betrayed. The monster was the man who shared our last fire. I can still see the silent hunger in his eyes.
It haunts my dreams.
It's a reminder of what lies beneath every man. I walk the streets of this town now. I'm a stranger to the life I once knew. The gold is gone. The dream is dead.
Sometimes, when the wind howls, I hear them.
Caleb, Jed, Lars, Sven. They call out from the ice, asking why I survived.
I have no answer for them.
I only have the silence and the cold, and the memory of the man who turned our fire into a funeral pyre. The Klondike is still there, waiting. It doesn't care about our gold or our dreams. It just waits for the next fool to come looking for a future. I look at the horizon, where the sun barely touches the peaks. The silence of the north is heavy, pressing down on everything like a physical weight. I know that somewhere out there, the truth remains buried under the permafrost. People back home ask about the gold, about the fortune I was supposed to bring back. I just tell them the mountain took it all. It's easier than explaining that the real cost was paid in blood and trust. Sometimes I dream of Caleb. He's still young, still smiling, still believing that the world is a fair place. Then the dream shifts, and I see the ice, and I wake up shaking. I kept the compass. It's the only thing I have left of him. A small, cold piece of metal that feels heavier than a mountain. Every time I touch it, I'm back there, in the dark, with Silas. Silas thought he was a god out there. He thought the hunger gave him the right to decide who lived and who died. But he was just a man, and he died like one. I wonder if Finn ever figured it out, or if he's still out there, somewhere, believing in the Wendigo. Maybe it's better that way, to have a monster to blame instead of the truth. The Klondike doesn't care about our morality. It's just ice and rock and wind. That's the people who bring the darkness with them, and I was just as guilty as the rest for following them. I'm not the same man who left home. That man died on the trail, somewhere between the pass and the camp. What's left is just a shell, a witness to the things that shouldn't be. I'll carry this secret until the day I die. Maybe that's my penance. To live with the memory of the fire, the taste of the meat, and the look in Silas's eyes when he realized he'd lost. The Klondike is still there, waiting. It doesn't care about our gold, our dreams, or our monsters. It just waits, cold and indifferent, for the next fool to come looking for a future. I look back at the trail that led us into this frozen hell. The wind howls through the trees, sounding like the voices I left behind. Every gust of snow feels like a ghost trying to pull me back. The memory of the fire is still so vivid. Silas thought he was untouchable, a king of the wasteland. He didn't realize that even a king can be brought down by the truth.
I remember the taste of the meat, the way it sat heavy in my stomach. I didn't know then what I was eating, but my body knew. It was a betrayal that went deeper than any lie. Caleb's compass is still in my pocket, a cold weight against my thigh. It's the only thing that keeps me grounded when the memories start to pull me under. It's a reminder of what I lost and what I had to do. Silas was a master of words, a man who could make you believe anything. He used our fear to build his own little kingdom. But he didn't count on the fact that even a desperate man can see through a lie. I remember the night I finally confronted him. The air was so cold, it felt like it was burning my lungs. I knew that if I didn't act, I would be the next one to disappear into the white. The fight was a blur of movement and sound. I remember the sound of the branch hitting his head. It was a moment of pure, cold justice. I didn't bury him. I just left him there, in the snow. The wilderness would take care of him, just like it took care of the others. The journey back was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every step was a battle against the cold and the memories. But I kept going, driven by the need to leave that place behind forever. I made it back, but I'm not the same man. I carry the truth like a brand, a secret that burns in my heart. The Klondike didn't give me gold, but it gave me a truth that I'll never be able to forget. The silence in this room is heavy. It feels just like the weight of that snow. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back there. I still keep this compass in my pocket. It's cold, but it's the only thing I've got left. I trace the carving I made for my brother. Would anyone even believe me if I told them? People want their monsters to be made of ice. They just say, I'm another broken man. I still think about Caleb's smile. He had so much hope for the future. None of them deserved to end up like that. Silas was the one who led us into that trap. He used our fear to hide what he really was. I can still see that smirk he gave me. The fight was the only way out. I didn't want to kill him, but I had to survive. When he fell, it was just the end of the nightmare. I left him there in the snow. The wilderness would take him, just like the others. I didn't look back. I just kept walking. The journey back was just a blur. I don't remember much, just the cold and the fear. I made it back to a world that didn't know. Klondike didn't give me any gold. It gave me a truth I'll carry forever. Say, in the most difficult times, the deepest darkness can be in the human heart. The cold wasn't the real killer. It was the humanity we lost and the trust we betrayed. It was the monster in the man who shared our fire. I look at the compass in my hand, the silver dull and cold against my palm. It's a small, heavy thing that feels like it's pulling me back to that frozen hell. I can still see the carving I made, a tiny, jagged mark that was supposed to mean home. The world outside my window is quiet, just a dusting of snow on the sill. It's nothing like the white fury of the Klondike, but it's enough to make me shiver. I keep the curtains drawn, trying to shut out the light that reminds me of the endless, blinding glare of the ice. I remember the way Silas spoke, his voice smooth as silk, even when he was talking about the most horrific things. He had a way of making you feel like he was the only one who could save you. We were so desperate. We would have believed anything he said. The hunger was a constant gnawing thing that never really went away. It made us look at each other differently, like we were all just pieces of meat waiting to be carved. I hate myself for how I felt back then, for the way my own stomach betrayed my conscience. I can still see Caleb's face, so full of hope and dreams.
He thought we were going to build a life, a real future.
He didn't know that the only thing waiting for us in the Klondike was a grave in the snow. The night I confronted Silas, the air was so cold it felt like it was cutting through my skin. I didn't care about the cold anymore now. All I could think about was the compass in my pocket and the truth that had finally come to light.
He didn't even try to deny it.
He just stood there, looking at me with those cold, predatory eyes, like he was waiting for me to make a move. He was so sure of himself, so convinced that he was the only one who mattered. The fight was a blur of movement and sound, the crunch of snow and the heavy thud of wood against bone. I wasn't fighting for gold anymore. I was fighting for justice, for the memory of my brother, and for the chance to end the nightmare. When he finally fell, there was no joy, just a hollow, empty feeling in my chest. I stood there in the silence, listening to the wind howl through the trees, and I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. I walked away from that camp, and I never looked back. I left the horror behind, but I carried the truth with me, a heavy, burning secret that I'll take to my grave. The Klondike didn't give me gold, but it gave me a lesson I'll never forget. The trek back was just a blur of white and gray. I moved like a ghost, just barely hanging on. The silence of those mountains was a heavy, crushing weight. I still had the taste of ash in my mouth. It wasn't just the cold. It was the memory of what I'd done. Killing him left a weight in my gut that was colder than any wind. Reaching civilization didn't bring me any relief. I felt like a total stranger in a world I didn't know anymore. Everyone else looked like ghosts from a life I'd lost. I never told anyone what really happened out there. Who'd believe a guy who looked like he'd been dragged through hell? They would have just called me crazy, or a murderer. People prefer their monsters to be mythical, like something out of a story. It's way easier to blame a spirit than to look at the truth. The real monster is just the guy sitting right next to you. I still see them sometimes. In the shadows or the firelight. Caleb's smile, Jed's face, they're always there. They're my constant companions, the ghosts of that trip. The Klondike didn't give me any gold, but it gave me a truth that's way more terrifying. The deepest darkness is just the human heart, twisted by fear. The cold wasn't the real killer out there. It was the humanity we lost and the trust we betrayed. I carry that truth like a brand, a reminder of what we're capable of. I look at the compass one last time. It's just a small, heavy thing, but it holds so much. I close my hand around it, and I feel my brother there. The fire is dying down now. I'm just so tired. But as long as I keep the truth, they won't be forgotten. I walk toward the edge of the woods. The wind sounds like voices now. I look back at the dying fire one last time. The path ahead is barely visible. I keep my head down against the frost. Every step is a struggle, but I keep moving. I reach the ridge and look down. The dawn is just starting to break. It's not much, but it's a start. My hands are numb. I touch the compass one last time. It's the only thing I have left of him. I start the long descent. The snow is deep, and my legs feel like lead. I don't look back again. The memory of the fire starts to fade. I'm leaving it all behind. I'm going home. I reach the edge of the town. The buildings look small and fragile. I'm a ghost returning to the land of the living. I walk down the main street. People look at me, but they don't see me. They don't know what I've seen. I find a place to sit. I order a drink, but I don't touch it. I just stare at the wall. The truth is a heavy thing.
I'll carry it for all of them.
That's enough.
The tavern is loud, but I feel miles away.
My hands won't stop shaking.
I just stare at the glass, unable to take a sip. I can still see his face.
That smirk he had when he thought he'd won.
He really believed he was the only one who mattered.
I pull a compass out again. The carving I made for Caleb is still there. It feels so heavy in my hand.
I wonder if Finn ever thinks about it. He'll never know the truth.
Maybe that's for the best. Everyone here is just talking about gold. They have no idea what happened out there.
I'm just a ghost walking among them.
I need to get out of here.
I'm done with this place.
I just need to find a way to live with it. The air outside is freezing.
It's quiet here. Just the snow falling. It's not the same as the mountains, but it's still cold.
The stars are the same as they were out there. They don't care about what we went through.
They just keep shining like nothing happened.
I'm just going to keep walking. I need to find a place where it's quiet.
Somewhere the shadows don't look like him. The truth is a heavy thing to carry.
But I'll do it for them. I'll carry it until the end, and that's enough.
I find myself wandering toward the edge of town.
The silence here is heavy, reminding me of those long, frozen nights. I feel like a ghost, haunting a world that doesn't know what I've seen.
The cold air bites at my skin, but it's a clean cold. I pull my coat tighter, the coarse wool familiar against my chest. For the first time in months, I'm not looking over my shoulder for a monster. I think about the compass again, hidden deep in my pocket.
It's just a piece of metal now, a relic of a brother who deserved so much more. I'll keep it as a reminder of the man I was before the hunger took everything.
The town is starting to wake up.
People are going about their lives, chasing their own dreams.
I wonder if they'd believe me if I told them, or if they'd just look at me like I'm another broken prospector. I start walking again, my boots crunching rhythmically in the fresh snow. Each step takes me further from the horror, but the memory will always be there. I'm not running away. I'm just moving forward. I think about the others. The ones who didn't make it back. They were just men caught in a situation that stripped away everything. Silas was the only one who chose to let the monster win. The sun is finally rising, painting the sky in shades of pale orange and icy blue. It's a beautiful sight, but it feels strange to see such beauty after everything. I suppose that's the way of the world. It keeps turning, regardless of the darkness we carry. I'm not the same man who left for the Klondike. That man died in the snow, along with my brother.
I'm something else now. Something forged in the fire of betrayal and the cold. The road ahead is long, and I don't know where it leads. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid. I've faced the worst of humanity, and I've survived. I keep walking, the crunch of my boots the only sound in the vast, quiet morning. The Klondike is behind me, but the truth is with me always. In the end, that's the only thing that matters. I'm alive, and I'm free. Finally, I made it to the edge of town. My legs are just about done, but I'm still moving. Seeing that cabin feels like a miracle. I can still feel the weight of this thing in my hand. It's just a piece of metal, but it holds so much pain. I'll never forget what he did to my brother. A stranger comes out to see who's there. He looks at me like I'm some kind of ghost. I can't even find the words to say hello. He's waving me in, like he knows I'm freezing. The heat coming from that place is calling to me. I take a step, and for once, it doesn't feel like a battle. It's warm in here, finally. I can feel the fire soaking into my skin. I just need to close my eyes for a second. He hands me a cup of coffee. It's hot, and it's real. I haven't tasted anything like this in a long time. Everything here is so simple. It's a hard life, but at least it's honest. I think I could get used to this kind of quiet. I don't have much, but I'm still here. I'm gonna find a way to start over. Somewhere far away from all that cold. He asks me where I'm going. I just tell him I'm heading south. He doesn't ask any more questions, and I'm grateful for that. I'm feeling a bit better now. It's time for me to get back on the road. Whatever's out there, I'm ready for it. The cold hits me the second I step back outside. It's a long way to go, but I'm finally moving forward. Every step I take feels a little lighter than the last. I'm not looking back at that cabin anymore. I can still see his face when I close my eyes. This compass is all I have left of him now. The trail ahead is long, but I'm ready for it. I've got a long way to go before I'm home. Sometimes the silence is the loudest thing out here. I wonder if the nightmares will ever stop. Just keep moving. That's the only way out. One step at a time. That's all I can do. Sun's going down. Time to find a place to rest. I'm exhausted, but I've made it through another day. There's nothing like a fire to keep the dark away. I've come a long way from that first camp. Goodbye, Caleb. I'll never forget you. I hope you've found the peace I'm still looking for. The stars are so bright out here tonight. I'm finally ready to see what's next. The morning light reveals the harsh reality of the Klondike. I pack my gear, my movements stiff from the freezing night. The silence is heavy as I prepare to leave this place. I take one last look at the spot where the fire had been. It feels like a lifetime ago that we were all together. Now there is only the cold and the weight of the truth. The trail ahead is long and treacherous. My boots crunch against the ice, keeping me focused. I don't look back, knowing my path lies forward. The cold is biting, but it doesn't feel like a threat anymore. I think of Caleb and the promise I made to carry his memory. That thought keeps me going when I'm exhausted. I find a small, sheltered cave to rest in. It's not much, but it's out of the wind. I pull out the compass, a small, cold comfort. The night is long and silent. I listened to the wind howling outside. I try to sleep, but the memories keep me awake. Morning comes, and I'm back on the trail. The landscape is changing, the mountains giving way to a valley. I keep walking, searching for signs of civilization. I see something in the distance, a plume of smoke. My heart skips a beat. I start to run, my legs burning, my breath coming in gasps. It's a small outpost, a few wooden buildings huddled together.
I stumble toward them, my strength finally failing me.
I collapse in the snow, but I'm smiling. As I lie there, the cold no longer feels like a killer. I look up at the sky, the first stars beginning to appear. I've survived, but I know I'll never be the same. I felt hands pulling me from the snow. They dragged me toward the warmth of a cabin. I tried to speak, but my throat was frozen shut. The air inside was thick with wood smoke. I was laid near a stove, the heat biting into my skin. I watched the men, wondering if they were any different from him. Days passed in a feverish blur. I kept the compass hidden beneath my rags. Every time someone looked at me, I feared they could see the truth. I started to regain my strength, but the nightmares stayed. I sat by the window, watching the endless snowfall. I thought of the brothers I left behind in the ice. A man named Miller tried to talk to me. He asked about the pass and the others. I gave him vague answers, terrified of saying too much. I realized I couldn't stay here forever. The cabin felt like a cage. I needed to find a way back to a life without the memories. I packed my things and didn't say goodbye. I slipped out into the cold. I was ready to face the world again. The journey back was long, but the path was clear. I walked with a purpose I hadn't felt in months. I wasn't the same man, but I was a survivor. I reached the edge of the mountains. Below me, the valley opened up. I saw the first signs of a town, and it looked like salvation. I took a deep breath, the cold air filling my lungs. I was home, or as close as I would ever get. I touched the compass one last time and started the final descent. I finally reached the edge of the town. The wooden buildings look just as beaten down as I feel. People pass by without a second glance, like I'm just another ghost. I step into a small, dimly lit saloon. The warmth hits me, smelling of smoke and stale beer. I stand there for a moment, just trying to adjust. I walk to the bar and order a drink. My hands are still shaking as I pay. The bartender doesn't ask questions. He just slides the glass over. The whiskey burns, but it helps. I watch the other men laughing, but it sounds so hollow. They have no idea what I've seen out there. I pull the compass out of my pocket. It feels so heavy, like it's holding all my memories. I trace the carving, and I can't help but cry. I know I can't keep the secret forever. It's like a poison just eating me up inside. Who would ever believe a story like mine? I finish my drink and stand up. I need to find somewhere to sleep and just forget everything. I head back out into the cold night. The town is so quiet now. I look up at the stars and wonder if Caleb is watching. I really hope he's found some peace. I find an old shed at the edge of town. It's not much, but it's shelter. I just want to close my eyes and sleep without any nightmares. But the dreams always find me. I wake up in the dark, gasping for air. I survived, but I'm not really free. I wake up, gasping in the dark. The silence here is almost as heavy as the memories. I can still see his face in the firelight. I grab my coat and pull it tight. It's a reminder of everything I lost out there. I gotta get out of this town. The cold air hits me like a wall. The town is still sleeping, quiet as a grave. I start walking toward the edge of the woods. I stop for a second to catch my breath. Looking back, it just looks like a cluster of shadows. I don't really belong anywhere anymore. My hand finds the compass in my pocket. It's the only piece of Caleb I've got left. I trace the carving, feeling every line.
The sun starts to peek over the horizon. Everything looks so beautiful, but it's just a mask.
I keep moving, eyes fixed on the bath. I wonder if anyone would even believe me.
They'd probably just think I'm another broken man. But it doesn't matter, because I know the truth.
This place is so big, it just swallows everything. It doesn't care about my rage or my grief.
It just exists, indifferent to all of us. My legs are burning, but I can't stop.
I don't even know where I'm headed.
This journey, it's all I've got left now. The horizon is all I can see. I'm just a ghost walking through the snow. The cold is the only thing that'll ever know the truth. I keep walking, my boots sinking into the deep, unforgiving drifts. The silence of the wilderness is absolute, broken only by my own breathing. Every step feels like a monumental effort, a physical manifestation of the weight I carry. The sun is high now, casting long, distorted shadows across the ice. I see the remnants of old camps, abandoned gear half buried in the permafrost. And it's a graveyard of dreams, a testament to the madness that brought us all here. I stop to rest against the jagged rock formation, my hands trembling. I pull out the silver compass. The carving on the back seems to pulse. It's a reminder of Caleb, of the brother I failed to protect. The wind picks up, a low, mournful howl that echoes through the valley. It sounds almost like a voice, calling out from the past. I force myself to move, to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I find a small, sheltered cave and crawl inside, seeking refuge. The darkness is thick, but it's a comfort compared to the blinding white. I huddle in the corner, my body aching with a deep, bone-chilling fatigue. In the silence of the cave, the memories come flooding back. I see Silas's face, that predatory smirk and the way he looked at us. The horror of it all is still so fresh, a wound that refuses to heal. I close my eyes, trying to block out the images, but they're etched into my mind. I wonder if I'll ever be free of them, or if I'm destined to carry this burden. The cold in the cave is biting, but it's nothing compared to the chill in my soul. Morning comes, a pale gray light filtering into the cave. I stand up, my joints stiff and aching, and prepare to face the world again. I have to keep moving to reach the edge of this frozen hell. I step out of the cave, the cold air hitting me like a physical blow. The landscape is still vast, still indifferent, but I feel a strange sense of clarity. I know what I have to do, and I know that I'm the only one who can carry this truth. I start walking again, my eyes fixed on the horizon. The journey is long, and the path is uncertain, but I'm no longer the man who set out. I'm something else now, forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by the cold. The path ahead is a blur of white, but my mind is crystal clear. I keep walking, my boots crunching against the frozen crust of the snow. Every step is a deliberate act of defiance against the silence. I reach a ridge and look back at the trail I've carved. It's a long, lonely line stretching back into the heart of the wilderness. I can't go back, and I'm not sure if I'll ever truly arrive. The cold is a constant, gnawing presence. It seeps through my coat, through my skin, and right into my bones. I pull my scarf tighter, trying to hold on to the last bit of warmth. I find a patch of trees that offers a little shelter from the wind. I sit down, my legs giving out beneath me. The silence here is different, heavier, like it's waiting for something. I pull out the compass again. It's the only thing I have left of Caleb. I trace the carving with my thumb,
feeling the edges of the crest. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and deep charcoal. It's a beautiful, terrifying sight. I know I need to find a place to hunker down for the night.
I find a small abandoned shack, its roof sagging under the weight of the snow.
It's not much, but it's better than the open air. I push the door open, the wood groaning in protest.
Inside, it's dark and smells of rot and old wood.
I clear a space in the corner, my movements slow and deliberate. I'm so tired, but I can't let my guard down yet. I sit in the corner, listening to the wind howl outside. It's a lonely sound, but it's a sound I'm getting used to. I close my eyes, and for a moment, I'm back at the fire, back with Caleb. The memory fades, and I'm back in the dark, cold shack. I open my eyes, the reality of my situation settling in once more. I'm alone, but I'm alive, and that has to be enough for now. The wind just won't quit, howling through these old boards. My body's so stiff, it's like I've turned to ice. I gotta keep moving, or this place is gonna be my grave. Stepping out, the glare off the snow is blinding. It's just endless white in every direction I look. I take a deep breath and start walking again. The only sound is my boots crunching on the ice. I'm scanning the horizon for anything that looks like a trail. Every single step feels like a battle against my own body. I gotta stop for a second and catch my breath. My hands are shaking so bad from the cold. I need to see that carving on the compass again. It's still there, just like I remember it. It makes me think of Caleb and the life we were gonna have. It's a bitter reminder, but it's what keeps me going. I put the compass away and look up at the sky. Those clouds are looking heavy and gray. I gotta find some shelter before the storm hits. There's a cluster of rocks up ahead. Looks like a small cave tucked into the mountainside. I'm gonna scramble towards it before the snow starts. I crawl inside, and it's at least dry in here. It's dark, but it's out of the wind. I'm just gonna huddle up and wait for this storm to pass. The wind is starting to howl outside now. It's such a mournful sound, echoing in here. I'm so tired. I just want to close my eyes and sleep. I can't sleep. Not with all this on my mind. Thinking about Silas and the truth is a heavy burden. I'm just gonna stare into the dark and wait for dawn. The storm finally breaks, leaving the world in a deathly, suffocating silence. I emerge from the cave, my body stiff and my mind racing with the memories of what happened at the camp. The vast white expanse feels like a prison, but I know I have to keep moving to survive. Every step through the deep, crusty snow is a battle against my own exhaustion. I can still hear the echoes of Silas's voice in my head, his false prayers and his chilling justifications. I've forced myself to look ahead, refusing to let the past drag me down into the ice. I stop to catch my breath, my hands trembling as I pull the silver compass from my pocket. The carving on the casing is a small, tangible reminder of Caleb and the life we were supposed to have. It's a bitter, painful anchor, but it's the only thing that keeps me grounded. The carving is still there, a small, tangible piece of my past. It reminds me of Caleb, of the farm, of the life we were supposed to have. It's a bitter reminder, but it keeps me moving forward. I put the compass away and look up at the sky. The clouds are gathering, heavy and gray, promising another storm. I need to find shelter before the snow starts falling in earnest. I see a cluster of rocks ahead, a small cave tucked into the side of the mountain. It's not much, but it's better than being out in the open. I scramble towards it, my legs burning with the effort. I crawl into the cave, the air inside still and cold. It's dark,
but it's dry. I huddle in the back, pulling my coat around me, and wait for the storm to pass. The wind begins to howl outside, a low, mournful sound that echoes in the cave. I close my eyes, trying to block out the world. I'm so tired, and for a moment, I just want to sleep. But I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Silas, about what he did, about the truth I carry. It's a heavy burden, but it's the only thing that's keeping me alive. I open my eyes, staring into the darkness, waiting for the dawn. The dawn finally breaks, a faint gray light filtering into the cave. I stand up, my joints aching, and prepare to face the final stretch of this journey. I am a shadow of the man I was, but I am still here, and I will see this through to the end. The morning light reveals a landscape that feels alien and indifferent. My legs are heavy, but the truth I carry forces me forward. Every step is a deliberate act of defiance against this frozen hell. I look back one last time at the mountains that swallowed my brother. The wind whips snow across the peaks, erasing any trace of us. It's as if we were never here, just ghosts in this brutal winter. The journey back is a blur of survival and sheer will. I don't remember the miles, only the constant gnawing hunger. I am a hollowed-out vessel, carrying a secret that could burn the world. I finally reach the outskirts of a settlement. The sight of smoke rising from chimneys feels like a dream. I collapse in the snow, my strength finally failing me. People find me, their faces blurred by my fading consciousness. They ask questions, but I have no words for them. How could I explain the horror, the betrayal, the monster? I am taken in, fed and warmed, but the cold remains inside me. I sit by a fire in a warm room, yet I feel nothing but the chill. The world moves on, oblivious to the darkness I've seen. I never speak of what happened, because who would believe me? The world prefers its monsters to be mythical, not human. My story would just be another tale of a man driven mad. But I know, and I carry the truth like a brand. The memory of Caleb's smile and the others live with me still. The Klondike gave me no gold, but it etched a terrifying truth. The deepest darkness isn't found in mythical beasts. It's in the human heart, twisted by fear and hunger. The cold wasn't the real killer. It was the humanity lost and the trust betrayed. The monster was the man who shared our last fire. I am the only one left to remember the hunger in his eyes. I look out the window at the quiet town. The peace here feels so fragile. I know the truth is still buried out there. My hands still shake when I think of that compass. It was just silver, but it held my brother's life. I keep it hidden, a secret I could never share. Sometimes the wind sounds like Caleb calling my name. I know it's just the cold playing tricks on me, but I still listen, waiting for a voice that's gone. They're all laughing, totally oblivious to the darkness. They talk of gold, never knowing the price we paid. I stay in the shadows, just a ghost among them. I wonder if Silas is still out there in the ice. Maybe he's just a frozen monument to his own greed. It doesn't matter. He's gone, and that's enough for me. The nights are the hardest part of all this. The silence in the cabin feels so heavy and suffocating. I keep checking the door, expecting to see him there. I've started writing it all down. The truth of it. Not for anyone else, just for me. To prove it wasn't a dream, that I actually survived. The ink stains my fingers, a dark reminder. I look at the words and feel a little lighter. Maybe, just maybe, I can finally find some peace. I step outside into the crisp morning air. The sun is rising, casting light over the snow. It's a new day, and I don't feel the cold anymore. I don't know what's next, but I'm ready. I've seen the darkness, and I've survived it.
I turn and walk away, leaving the past behind.
The Klondike still haunts my dreams. It's a cycle of ice and blood. I keep seeing Silas scanning there. He looked at us like cattle. He spoke of God while sharpening his blade. It still makes my skin crawl. I can still hear the wind howling. It sounds like the end of hope. I see Caleb fading into the white. Silas was always there to twist the truth. He used our fear to keep us in line. He was the architect of our nightmare. I'd found the compass in his pack. That was the moment the veil was lifted. I knew I had to act. The final confrontation was a blur. We fought in the snow. I saw the look in his eyes when he was beaten. I left him there in the snow. I didn't look back. I walked toward the dawn. I survived, but at what cost? I returned to a world that didn't understand. I carried the truth like a brand. The Klondike gave me no gold. It gave me a truth far more terrifying. The real horror is in the human heart. The cold wasn't the real killer. It was the humanity lost and trust betrayed. I'll never forget the hunger in his eyes. I sit here now, years later, and the silence of my room feels just like the silence of the Klondike. It's a heavy, suffocating quiet that never really leaves you. I find myself staring at my hands, wondering if they're still stained by the things I had to do to survive. The gold was supposed to be our ticket out, our way to a better life. But all it bought us was a one-way trip into a nightmare. I look at the old maps sometimes and I can still see the path we took, winding through the frozen hell. I remember Caleb's smile, that bright, hopeful thing that made the cold seem a little less biting. He really believed we were going to make it. It hurts to think about how wrong he was and how much he lost because of it. Silas was the one who kept us going, or so we thought. He was the leader, the man with the plan, the one who read us sermons while we starved. We didn't know he was just waiting for the right moment to feed on us. I still see the tracks in the snow sometimes, even here in the city. They weren't from any beast, just the heavy, deliberate steps of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. It was all a lie, every single word he spoke. The compass. That little piece of silver was the key to everything. When I found it in his pack, the whole world just stopped. I knew then that I was the only one left who could stop him. The fight wasn't about gold anymore. It was about justice, about making sure he couldn't hurt anyone else. I remember the sound of the branch hitting his head, the way he just crumpled into the snow. It was finally over. I walked away from that camp, and I never looked back. I didn't want to see his face or the faces of the others. I just wanted to get out, to find some place where the cold didn't feel like it was trying to kill me. I made it back, but I'm not the same man who left. I'm just a shell, a ghost of the person I used to be. The Klondike took everything from me, and it left me with a truth that I can never share. The real horror isn't the cold or the hunger. It's the monster that lives inside us, waiting for the right moment to come out. And I know, because I've seen it, and I've had to live with it every single day since. I look back at the trail that led us into that frozen hell. It's hard to believe I was once full of hope and dreams of gold. Now all I see is the white expanse that swallowed my brother. The silence of the wilderness is the loudest thing I've ever heard. It's a heavy, suffocating quiet that presses down on you. There's no one left to talk to about what I've seen. I think about the others, the men who started this journey with us.
They were just trying to find a better life, just like Caleb and me.
They didn't deserve to end up as part of Silas's twisted game. Silas. The name still makes my blood run cold.
He was so good at playing the part, the pious leader.
But behind that mask, there was nothing but a bottomless, hungry void.
I remember the night I found the compass. It was the moment the truth finally hit me, hard and fast.
There was no beast, no Wendigo. It was just him, all along.
The fight was a blur of rage and desperation.
I didn't think, I just acted.
I had to stop him, for Caleb, for Jed, for everyone he'd taken. When he finally fell, I felt a strange, cold relief wash over me.
I left him there in the snow. I didn't bury him. I didn't say a prayer. He didn't deserve one.
I just walked away, towards the dawn, towards a future I wasn't even sure I wanted. The journey back was a blur. I don't remember much, just the cold, the hunger, and the crushing weight of the secret. I made it back to civilization, but I'm not the same man who left.
I never told anyone what really happened.
Who would believe me? The world wants its monsters to be mythical, not human.
My story would just be another tale of madness in the Klondike.
But I know I carry the truth like a brand. The deepest darkness isn't in the legends, but in the human heart.
The cold wasn't the real killer.
It was the man who shared our last fire. I sit here in the quiet, and the silence is heavy. It's been years, but the memories are still so sharp. I look at my hands and wonder if I'll ever be free.
Sometimes I dream of the snow.
It wasn't just the cold that killed them. The wilderness stripped us down to nothing. I still think of Caleb and his smile. He was the best of us. Really.
It breaks my heart how he was taken.
Silas Thorne wasn't some monster from a story. He was just a man, plain and simple.
He used our fear to hide what he was doing.
I still remember the taste of that meat. It makes me sick just thinking about it now.
We were so hungry, we didn't see the truth.
I keep the compass hidden away.
It's a reminder of everything that happened.
It's the only proof I have that it was real. I don't talk about it with anyone. Who would even believe me? They'd just say I'm crazy. Maybe I am.
The Klondike didn't give me any gold.
It just gave me this heavy burden. It's a truth I have to carry forever.
The real horror isn't in the legends.
It's in the human heart.
It's how we turn on each other when we're scared.
I look out the window one last time. The snow is falling again, covering everything. It's beautiful, and it's the only thing that knows the truth. The memory of that final night still burns in my mind. I can see the dying embers casting shadows against the snow. Silas was on watch, a dark shape against the white wilderness. I lay there, pretending to sleep, my heart pounding. I thought of Caleb and the others who would vanish. I knew I couldn't let Silas continue his work. Silas stirred, his movements soft and deliberate. He began to move toward Finn, who was huddled in fear. I realized with terror that he was going to do it again.
Silas!
Silas froze, a dark silhouette against the white. He turned to face me, his expression cold and predatory. I held up the compass, the metal glinting in the light. I told him I knew everything about his lies. He just smirked. a truly terrifying sight.
He called it necessity, claiming he made hard choices.
He spoke with a pride that made my stomach churn.
Then he lunged for his axe, his movements swift.
I ducked, the blade missing my head by inches.
I grabbed a heavy branch to defend myself.
The confrontation was a brutal dance of survival. We circled each other, our breath pluming in the air. I slammed the branch into his ribs with all my strength.
He grunted, stumbling back, momentarily winded. I swung the branch, catching him across the head. The crack echoed in the silence.
Silas staggered, his eyes glazing over before he collapsed. I stood over him, panting, my hands trembling. It was done. The monster was silenced. I was finally free to walk away, carrying the truth.
I looked at Finn, still huddled and oblivious.
He'd never know the horror of what he'd eaten.
Maybe it was a mercy to let him believe in the legend.
I didn't bury Silas. The wilderness would claim him, just like the others. I grabbed his axe, my pack, and just started walking.
I walked away from the camp, away from the horror. I headed toward the faint glimmer of dawn on the horizon. I wasn't sure I wanted a future, but I carried the truth with me.
The journey out was just a blur of pure will. I barely remember anything except the weight of that secret.
I made it back to civilization, but I was just a shadow of myself.
I never told anyone what really happened. Who would even believe me?
People want their monsters to be legends, not human.
The Klondike was full of stories about men losing their minds. My story was just another one of those. Just another guy broken by the cold and the gold. But I knew the truth. I carried it like a brand. I still see Caleb's smile and the haunted eyes of the others. I didn't find any gold out there. But I found a truth that was way more terrifying.
The real horror isn't some legend. It's what's inside us.
The cold wasn't the real killer. It was the humanity we lost and the trust we betrayed. It was the monster in the man who shared our fire. That silent hunger in his eyes. That's what I remember. That's what I'll always remember.